Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this Friday's double-decker events for Try This at Work Teams in 30. My name is Kelly Cleland. I am a Customer Success Manager with Microsoft and a Try This at Work leader. Today, I'm super excited because we have two amazing sessions for you. The first one is one I'm going to be facilitating, and it's all around controlling people flow. This is leveraging both Microsoft Teams, specifically shifts, and then also we're going to talk about bookings for external appointments, and then how that also integrates into Teams as well. So really excited to talk to you today about that. And then up next, starting at 12:30, we're actually going to be joined by my peer, Jonathan Turk, who's also a customer success manager on my team. And Jonathan is going to be walking us through an amazing presentation on Power Apps. So how easy it is to get up and running, leveraging Power Apps, both from a templated standpoint, a walkthrough, how you can leverage Power Apps for free. I'm so excited to have him here with me today, and it's going to be an amazing session and one I'm looking forward to participating in myself. So really quick, just for some housekeeping notes, because I've got a lot to get through in 30 minutes of time. So again, the Try This at Work Teams in 30 series, just to cover for Microsoft compliance reasons. Again, these are public live events, so anyone can attend these events. If you do happen to be authenticating with your 365 account through Teams, the only thing that we may have on file is your email address. Again, we will not use that email address in any which way. We don't even pull those reports or look at them. So have no fear, we will not be using that data in any way. If you joined as anonymous, if you didn't authenticate, you're completely fine. We literally have no data on you. So again, for housekeeping, just to get that out of the way. So we are going to go ahead and roll right into it. So give me just a second, and I'm going to get sharing here. All right, so let me get rid of my reminders, and I'm going to minimize that for now. All right, so where I want to start here is talking about Microsoft Bookings. And you're probably like, how does Microsoft Bookings relate to Teams? Well, Bookings is a separate application, but I am going to show you how, from a holistic perspective in terms of controlling people flow, you're going to see not only how Bookings integrates into Teams, but just how the two combine together. In this day and age of COVID, right, we know that there's a lot of CDC guidelines and requirements that we all have to follow, making returning to work or reopening a challenge. And you really need to have a holistic approach to how you're going to do that and how you're going to control that people flow, both from an internal organization perspective and then also, from a customer guest perspective, you also have to have a plan in place. Now, many organizations are starting and many of our customers are starting to reopen their doors. But again, it's generally based in a limited capacity. Even at Microsoft, we have a limited capacity in terms of going back to our offices at this point in time. And it very much as their opening is going to be, it's going to be by appointment only. So first part I'm going to cover is bookings, because this part of the conversation is going to be how you're managing external people flow, how you can control that people flow through leveraging bookings, which is a part of your licensing if you're a E5 or E3 customer. So by the way, for the rest of you, bookings is actually available like for business and the A licensing. The majority of my customers have enterprise licensing, which is why I referenced that first. So if you're unsure if you have bookings available to you, just go out and check the licensing requirements for that. But for the enterprise customer specifically, what I want to mention for those with the e-license is that bookings is turned off by default for the enterprise licensing. So the administrator is going to have to enable it for the organization to be able to leverage it. And again, through policies, you can decide who has access to what apps. So I want to go ahead and get started because I have a lot to show you for bookings. And as we're diving into bookings, the one thing I'm going to tell you is that I have a lot of customers that are actually already leveraging bookings. I have customers that are leveraging bookings to control crowding and people flow at pools, at resorts. We have customers that are leveraging it from a retail perspective, which is kind of what I'm going to demo today in the environment that I have set up. So controlling individuals for inside of the store. So how many people are coming in and outside of the stores. So for example, you can think a lot of this like salons, retail stores, for styling fittings or whatever the case may be. We have tons of use cases out there. Customers are getting really creative about how they're leveraging Microsoft Bookings, but it is essentially a platform included in your suite with your licensing that allows you to have the connection externally and allows you to have that visibility into the people flow and who's coming in and out, of your locations. So first thing I want to show you is you can clearly see here just by looking at the Outlook icon up in the tab. So I have here Carl, and he is a manager of retail store Contoso Town, specifically within the women's department. So Bookings is layered on top of Exchange. So you can see here, this is an Outlook calendar. And basically the interface, Bookings is an interface on top of that. So it's really all based around calendaring and scheduling. So right, makes sense, Outlook. So what this is that when you log into Bookings like I have here through just office.com in this case, because I'm just for demo purposes through the browser, you can see here that you're going to have the option to actually set up what is a bookings calendar. And you can have, by the way, more than one bookings calendar. In this case, Carl, he only manages Contoso's Town Women's Department, which is Parlor 3. So he only has access to one calendar because he just needs to manage his team within the women's department. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to set up your business information. So your business information, again, it really walks you through step by step in terms of what you can add in here. So I'm not going to completely walk through this step by step, but you kind of get the gist here. There's currency, the business type you have, your website URL, your address and phone number. Keep in mind, I'm actually going to cover virtual appointments here, but just your standard business information. So really you would want to have, so you could essentially have for each department, you could have the business information for the location for Contoso Town store, and then all the business address information would be the same, but in terms of the booking, this is specific to the women's department, Parlor 3. Now, you can add a logo, you can state your business hours, so whatever those may be. In this case, we're just saying this store is only open Monday through Friday. Again, this doesn't mean that that's what this scheduling is based on, but these are just the business hours. It's information about your business, and that's where you're going to start with your setup. Now, the next thing you're going to do, I like to work from the bottom up, by the way, when I set this up. Now you have a place to add your services, and your services is what is bookable, right? So for example, with the pool example I provided earlier, so the service is going to be essentially one service, and that's going to be to book time at the pool at the resort. So you can just have one, you can have many. In this case, we have many, right? So in the case of retail here, we have a virtual styling consult appointment, right? It's going to be, I'm going to show you how that's leveraging Microsoft Teams specifically for that meeting. You have guest of a guest shopping assist, shopper's choice from their guest list, and then also a styling appointment that's on site. So various services, all you do to add a service is just click add service. And basically this is just going to give you a listing essentially of all of the services that can be booked. If you want to, define a price for it, if you need custom fields for whatever reason added to the service that needs to be pulled from your guests or customers, you can do so. You do see assigned staff here. So in the case that you did want to assign a specific staff member, like if there's only one person, you have one staff member that this is going to be assigned to, you don't have to assign staff, right? These are just my staff members that are showing up here, but you don't have to assign staff to a service. It can essentially just look at a calendar to see who's available. So I am, and you can also see here, this is a nice feature, buffer time that customers can't book. So in the case of hair appointments, maybe you need like a quick 5 minutes to do cleanup. You can actually buffer that time into your calendars. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't have too much time and we have a lot to get through, but at least that gives you an idea. Next thing is staff. So staff is going to be anyone that can potentially be booked. And in the case where it's just there's not really staff, right? It's essentially just you as the administrator setting it up. For example, the pool reservation scenario, or whoever else you may want to have access as administrator to that calendar, you can certainly do so. Very easy to add your staff. And just one thing that I want to mention here. So I can immediately search for people, see it's automatically going to pull back as I start searching within my organization. Couple things I want to mention on this. One, email notifications when a booking is assigned to them. I personally would always have that checked. Pool scenario, a little bit different. From an availability perspective, you have two options. You have events on the office calendar affect availability, essentially meaning that this particular user, it's actually going to look at their personal calendar versus just standard business hours. So you can determine, do you just want to go based off of business hours because, a particular user, in this case, Florence Lewis, she doesn't actually put anything on her personal calendar. This is a retail store. We're just going to go based off of business hours, and Florence can be booked at any time throughout those business hours. So that is what the difference of those is and what I wanted to specify. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and you can see here, I also have permissions here. So just myself as Carl and Adele are the administrators, meaning that essentially they can do modification of the services in the bookings calendar and the settings. And then our team members, Crystal, Megan, and Patty, they're viewers. So essentially they can view the calendar and see all of the bookings. Customers. As customers get added in here, so you can either import customers, so you can add customers and have a customer database ready. Maybe the reason you may want to do this is if you want to pre-book customers, so if you want to control customer flow, so if you have, for example, a reservation hotline, I'm just going to use the pool example again because it's a good one. If you have a reservation hotline and you want them to actually call in and talk to a person to book the pool reservation, basically, if you know that you have X amount of people that are staying at the resort, who all of them are, you could just import that information and it's going to streamline the booking of that because you and any of your staff can actually proactively book a slot. So that's just one way. If you didn't actually want your guests doing the booking, you could actually control it even internally. And then next thing is the actual bookings page. So this is where you're customizing your page. So essentially what this booking page is basically just you could call it a web page essentially that you're publishing with your information, listing all of your services that I'm going to show you here in a second. And you're just customizing it based off of, whatever it is that you need to include on that page. So, there's color themes, you can even do a custom color scheme if you want the logo to be displayed, scheduling policy in terms of increments and how much lead time, email notifications, staff. So, do you even want your customers selecting a specific person for the booking? So really, you're essentially controlling all of the settings for how someone is booking appointments for your business. There's also, I think, which is really good here as well, you being able to essentially adding customer data usage content. So collection of data, that's ever important today, just making sure that the terms and conditions are posted on that site as well. And then in terms of booking page access control, who's going to be able to see that or access it if you're going to require someone to authenticate. For example, if you're controlling that inside of the organization, that's the sort of scenario with, hey, someone's calling in and we're only having people inside of the organization that are able to book on this. Again, just an example. You can also connect to Facebook, by the way. So a book now directly through Facebook, which is again another great feature. You can also share your page either via email, Twitter. So it actually gives you a URL. So in this case, right, this is a completely public bookings page. So I'm going to go ahead and open this published page. And you're going to see here, this is what the Contoso Town Women's Department site looks like. So I've got my little Parlor 3 logo up there. I have all of my services. So if I just selected a service, basically, it's going to allow me to look to see, do I want to book somebody specific, or I don't care who it is, I'll book anyone. I just want to make sure it's on Monday at 11 a.m. And then I can go ahead and add my information as a customer because I'm booking this directly. Select the terms and conditions and book. I'm not going to go through this for the sake of time, but I am going to show you what this actually looks like. So then, because in this case, I previously had confirmed a booking as myself with Patty Fernandez, and this is a virtual styling consult. So this is actually going to be a Teams meeting here. So you can see here, and I'm going to go back and show you this, but just for the sake of, I want you to know you can do it two different ways. You can do it, in the actual location itself, or you can do it via Teams meeting. I forgot to update this location header to say via virtual meeting. But basically, this is the confirm that I get. So I have my iCal up here that allows me to save it to my calendar. It tells me who it's with, what time, and all that good stuff. And I can even manage the booking. And again, you have the option to flip that on or off if you want. And then here is the, give me just a second, let me close that out. And then here's what the meeting invite looks like. So your appointment is with Patty. Here's all the business information, manage your booking. Again, you have the option to add additional details here, but then here's the Microsoft Teams meeting. So again, directly tied into Microsoft Teams, again, all stuff that's included within your licensing. So it's really fantastic in that way. So really quick, before I move on, just to go back, I'm going to go back to services really quick, and I'm just going to open up this virtual styling consultant. So you can see here how I did that instead of actually having an actual location, right? So, hey, you're coming into the store. If you want to start having virtual appointments, what you can do is you can basically say, and I just overrided the default location to say Teams meeting. And then basically it says add online meeting. So this is automatically going to add a Microsoft Teams meeting to any appointment that gets booked for this particular service. So again, you can see here all the same things. So I'm just going to save that back out just so that's saved. But that's how I booked the virtual styling consultant versus, a styling appointment that's on site. That's actually someone coming into the store to receive that service. Okay, so going back, I'm just going to show you the calendar. So you can see here just for this day, and I'm actually even going to show you this on a mobile view because again, you can access this inside of Teams, which I'm going to show you in a minute. You can access it inside of your browser. There's also a bookings mobile app as well. So I'll quickly give you a quick preview of that before we move on. But basically, anyone who has access to the calendar, right? I just happen to be an administrator as a manager, has access to see every single appointment that's booked for the day. Hugely important. I can open these, I can edit it, especially as the administrator, and then I have the other staff that's assigned as the viewers, and they're getting notified and it's getting put on their calendar in their view as well as the employees that are essentially facilitating those services. So they're going to be able to see everything that they've been booked with for the day. So maybe before they do their store walk, they are reviewing their bookings inside of Teams as well. So, okay, so the next thing that I want to show you, again, and you can just see here high level back at this home screen here, bookings made, estimated revenue, how many customers are booked. So it's just a high level roll up of information. So now what I actually want to show you here is you can see here, I am now in the actual store team. So this is Contoso Town Shop 246, and this is the women's wear department. And you're seeing here, now what I did here is I just pointed directly to the bookings calendar inside of my particular team. But the other thing I wanted to show you, and it's just not in, I forgot that the app wasn't flipped on from a policy perspective for this particular role. So what I did just to show you this is I actually want to open up my own version of Teams here. And I'm going to go to bookings. And you're going to see here, this is actually what it looks like. So I have this bookings app. This is actually inside of, right, this is me up here. This is a bookings app that I actually pinned to my left rail. So now I can see here, so I have access to be able to book my staff, to specifically hone in my staff, and you know, what is going on for the day, where they're booked, who they're meeting with. So again, multiple ways to get to this information, to be able to collaborate. So it's very powerful. And again, what I love about, you know, of course, bookings in the left rail is really, really easy to be able to hit that and see the schedule immediately, reinforcing it inside of bookings within this particular women's wear department. Is just really nice. And again, there's lots of filters here. Again, not going to go too much into that, but you get the gist in terms of controlling people flow from an external perspective. So I'm just quickly, I want to turn on, because I'm running short on time here and only have 10 minutes and I've got to get to shifts, which shouldn't take me too long. I am going to go ahead and I want to show you all. Let me get out of here. My two beautiful babes. Okay, bookings. So this is what I want to show you. So I'm still Carl in this case, right? But this is just the Bookings mobile app. Again, Teams, I could get to Teams, leverage the Bookings app inside of Teams, right? But if you wanted to just only, like maybe associates, you only want them to have access to the Bookings app. I don't know why you would, because Teams is much more collaborative in terms of file sharing and communication. But the Bookings app is available to you. So basically right here, you know, if this was just me, you know, I could see things that were, you know, booked for me for the day. But basically I have the ability to be able to look at any of my staff in terms of seeing where they're booked for the day. Again, have all of the customer contacts, you know, my staff, my settings, of course, because I'm the administrator. But again, I just wanted to give you a view of actually what that looks like just from a mobile perspective. So I'm just going to go ahead and shut that down, and I'm going to flip gears. So again, bookings, great way from an external perspective to be able to control the people flow and monitor and just know who's coming in and out, or even to do those virtual external engagements. Now I want to flip gears and talk about the org side of things and how you're controlling that people flow and how it's all tied together. So from an internal perspective, I'm just going to shut down all of these to not distract. So from an internal, one thing actually before I move off of bookings, I wanted to tell you all, so there's also text message notifications. This is in preview right now, but I wanted to let you know that you could also have post this feature basically that allows the customer or guest to enable text message notifications. So that's really awesome. So just, I wanted to quickly highlight that. Again, if you want to learn more about Microsoft Bookings, just do a search under support.microsoft.com. Lots of amazing information in terms of getting you up and running quickly. Okay, so with that, I'm going to flip gears, and now I want to talk about controlling people flow from an internal org perspective. And there is an article posted out there about this, but I thought it would be really good just to show you how easy it is to actually get this implemented. So again, now we're going to pretend like I'm Carl, not people manager, but I'm an organizational manager, and I have a team of individuals, you know, that I manage, or maybe I am a facilities manager and I have access essentially to everyone's calendar, you know, to be able to basically control people flow from, again, meeting CDC guidelines, distancing requirements, etc., for how we're controlling the flow of people back inside of the brick and mortar locations in the organization. And so what I've done here is I have set up shifts based off of building. So, you know, the way that I was thinking about this is I was kind of thinking about our Microsoft location here in Tampa. So, right, we occupy one of the floors there. And basically, so here we could say, you know, hey, this is building 76. Of course, I could have multiple buildings listed here as a master calendar if I had that access to all of the organization members. And what I did is I set up open shifts specifically for the floor and a section. It could also be a cube number. But basically, me personally, I'm very much I see color, which is why this is color coded based off of sections, right? So how many people are you going to allow in a certain section of your floor? And then, what cubicles are they potentially going to be allowed to sit in? So again, you could put any information that you want for this open shift to book and to control that flow. So, right, these open shifts here would be the only open seating that your organization, right, so specifically for this location, would be allowed to book. And once it's booked, it's booked. There's no more open slots. So it's a fantastic way to be able to control how many individuals are returning to work, where are they sitting, who's coming in and out. So you can see here, these are my open shifts up at the top. And at the bottom, so these are actually the members of the organization. In this case, right, who actually works out of building 76. So we can see here, because I've published this schedule, see you see a button up here that says share with team. Essentially, after I create this open shift floor plan for booking seats, it's going to give me the option when I feel good and ready and everything is there, I have the option to share with the team. And what that's going to do is, right, so I am the manager of these individuals. So what I'm basically doing is adding them as members to be able to see this calendar of open shifts. And they are then going to get access inside of shifts to be able to book this time. So you can see here Adele Vance down here, she decided that she wanted to come into work on Tuesday. So she booked floor 7, section D, because that's where she wanted to sit. Same with Grady and Megan, right? So they had specific sections that they wanted to work in. Grady wanted to go in 2 days during the week. And there's still a ton of open seating, right? Because maybe it's only 25% requirement for those that want to come in, and it's optional at this point. So really, again, a great way and a visible way for you to understand who's coming in and out. So really quick to show you how easy it is. So one thing to note as well is that specifically as someone who created and controlled this schedule, another really easy way is that, again, if someone's like, I don't see the schedule, you can let them know that they go over to Shifts, or they find the Shifts app within Microsoft Teams, and they're going to be able to book one of these shifts, or what we're calling it, floor reservations. In addition to that, you can actually see what you've shared, or even recall a shared schedule. So if you need to make a change, you can actually recall it and push it back out. You can also copy a schedule. So this is the great thing about shifts in terms of streamlining. So, right, your floor layout probably isn't changing. So you are actually able, so once you feel good about, hey, for the month of June, right, we're only going to open up 25% of the floor. These are the locations and the seat map of where people can schedule time to be in the building during working hours and sit. And right, you don't want to have to re-enter all of those shifts all over again. So all you're simply doing is copying the schedule, right? So here I have, this is the week that I want to copy, and I'm specifying where am I copying, where am I copying this to? So, I'm just going to say starting, a couple weeks down, one time, because I've already copied it over a couple times. And you can even specify, what do you want to include in that? Shift notes, activities, open shifts. So basically, I just leave everything at all, and I'm going to go ahead and copy it. And now my open shifts calendar is going to essentially be copied for that particular week. So if I look down here, you can see here, right now, Adele, Grady, and Megan, right, for demo purposes, I had already showed that they had reserved time. So clearly you would want to copy your schedule before anybody actually books time. So that way it's clean for booking and people can book out. So I think the more time you give folks to book out, the better off you're going to be in terms of that, again, that notification. I've also actually had customers that have layered on top of this. It basically also gives them visibility in terms of badging. So knowing who's coming in and out, they can control the badging as well if you're building a secure. So basically, you're only going to allow badge access to individuals that have requested to come on site. So again, lots of different ways that I can go into Microsoft shifts here. Again, really easy to add shifts, really easy to edit these, color code them, put in any information that you need here. This is just what an open shift looks like, adding activities. I even put a note in here, review floor plan and return to work requirements prior to reserving the space. So just sending, making sure that they have the notification. But I'm out of time. We got through it in terms of people controlling people flow, both externally and internally. So really quick with that,